My name is Jason Gurtata. I am currently a full-time MBA candidate at the Gabelli School of Business, Fordham University. And I have worked in small business development. I've worked in technology, finance, and strategy. And now I'm officially going to school to get a formal education in finance and fintech to kind of, give my career a bump that I not just a bump, but more of a formal education in finance, which I didn't have. In 2014, I'm sitting here with a piece of paper that says I've graduated 4 years from a accredited institution, very, very good institution. I went to Stony Brook University here in Long Island. It's probably one of the best, if not the best, SUNY state of New York school that's offered in New York. And so I'm sitting here with this piece of paper that says, okay, now I can do anything I want with this. However, the options that I could really use with this degree were somewhat limited, specifically in healthcare or in research. And I realized that neither of those things were piquing my interest as much as I really thought they did when I initially started when I was 18 years old going to college. And so the objective now is whether I want to go to pharmacy school or medical school or get a degree, a PA degree. And I realized that neither of those things were really, really something that I was completely interested in. And so I explored a lot of my options and I realized that I was doing well in our small business. And I thought that if I can just take the ideas that I'm using here and push them, let's say at a different company, or maybe create something of my own, it would make me the happiest person. And I think happiness was the key for me, where it was, I didn't want to be stuck in a job or an occupation that I hated every day, or something that I resented, similar to going to physics, I suppose, when I was 19 or 20 years old. And because of that, I realized that the MBA would be the best option to give me the widest range of opportunities. And although it was not so specific within the MBA, I could have a concentration, which I'm doing now, and that is targeted to something that I want to do. And in that moment, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know that finance was better than economics for me, or that marketing was not my calling. And it took a lot of time to realize that. But in 2014, I knew that I think the future, or what's held for me in the future, is an MBA. And it's something that I wanted to do. I didn't have the ability to do it, but I wrote it down. And I figured one day, in a year, 2 years, 3 years, I will eventually come back to this. And luckily I did, coincidentally. I don't think there is a specific right time, because everyone is a little different. Everybody has their own timeline in regards to, like I said, maturity, in regards to the knowledge that they're obtaining. It's very easy to say that someone in finance or economics or political science who wants to pursue an MBA can do it a lot sooner than I did. I waited about 6.5, maybe 7 years before trying to get my MBA or getting accepted to an MBA institution. My best advice would be, find it in yourself to say when you're ready to take the next step. That may be right after college, that might be 2 or 3 years after college, or maybe even an extended period of time, let's say 10, 15 years into a career, and you want to either get an executive MBA or a professional MBA or even a full-time MBA. And I think that depending on where you are in your career really justifies when you're ready to take the next step. I'm more than happy to share my personal experiences of when I decided that, okay, this is the time. I've officially proven to myself that I'm ready to take the next step. But I think everyone is a little different. So patience is definitely the key. I think understanding when and how to take the right step is very important. Fordham, even then in 2014 or 2013, illustrated that if I wanted to stay in New York, if I wanted to stay close to my friends and family and be in the epicenter of where business really occurs, it would be one of the better options. It wasn't financially driven, my choice to go to Fordham. It wasn't because it happened to be in proximity, let's say to Columbia or NYU for that matter. But the idea that it was the smallest cohort size and I would probably get the most individual attention without striving to, chase after someone. I think that was the main reason that I chose Fordham. And it was true then in 2014, and it is definitely true now. Even though we are in a virtual environment, it feels as if the connections are not far apart, but they're, like I'm standing next to the person that I'm speaking to. if we're going to compare, I think the best options to compare are probably New York University, Columbia University, and then Fordham University in that span of, let's say, the Manhattan area. And all three schools are located in somewhat near vicinity of one another. So the idea of being in Manhattan is equal on all aspects of all the schools. What I think Fordham really offers is this thing called Gabelli Plus and Gabelli Launch. They're essentially the same thing. They're interconnected. And what the program offers is that prior to your acceptance, even before the day one of classes, it's almost like you're given, you take a dive into the deep end, into what the school holds. And they provide you with sources from the Career Development Center. There's a very large Fordham network that ranges from everybody who's gone there from an undergraduate institution to any type of master's program. And they connect you early on, let's say 6 weeks before the day one of classes. And although you haven't started your classes yet and nothing has officially begun in regards to your GPA, if it wasn't for the pandemic, the school will take you and your entire cohort to a different part of the world. It's usually Argentina. And what they do is they immerse you with speaking with an NGO company that's working in Argentina at the moment, and they're doing very, very good work in regards to children's research, in regards to healthcare research, in regards to how do we make Argentina a better place to live for all. And I think very few schools have direct correlations with a specific company in a specific part of the world that is dealing with issues that are similar to those here in the States, in the United States, as well as something like South America, Argentina. And I didn't find that anywhere else. I didn't find that Columbia offered a 6-week program that started prior to the first day of classes. It doesn't occur at NYU, which has a significantly larger class size as well in their MBA program. So the combination of a small cohort, let's say between 50 and 70 students, paired with the idea that we're going to travel somewhere, and the resources that they give. Also, the idea that this Gabelli launch is going to follow you for the entirety of your career. So every semester, there are classes and kind of lecture series that occur at the same time consecutively with your classes. And the idea that it follows you from 6 months before you graduate and until even past after you've graduated, because now you are part of this talking about. And then you're in a position to help the people that are coming after you to essentially do the same thing. And I think if the cycle continues in such a progressive way, Fordham will continue to increase in the ranks and be really, really comparable to, let's say, an Ivy League institution or something like NYU. There's two ways to look at this answer. From the numbers alone, I think their finance program is probably one of the best in the city alone. If you want to get into investment banking, if you want to get into corporate finance, and if you have no knowledge of any of those fields prior to coming in, you still have a very, very high chance of landing a job or some kind of occupation within investment banking, corporate finance. It gives you all the tools that you need to kind of catch up and be at a level that is comparable to others that have been doing it for a long period of time. Given that, the marketing department is phenomenal. They're probably one of the best professors I've seen in my entire life. They have been so supportive. The analytics department that we have at Fordham is mind-blowing. They teach you SPSS for free, meaning there's no certification required. All you have to do is once you're admitted, you go onto a website, click on a link, and essentially you have a whole SPSS course that is free for you, for all students essentially. And I've never seen that anywhere else, where resources that I've paid for in the past, something like SQL work. I personally went to New York Career Center in 2017 to get 3 levels of SQL kind of accreditation, but that cost me approximately $1,500. Whereas if you go to just with the acceptance of Fordham, tools like that are just provided to you without an additional cost. So the idea that the school cares about you and wants you to succeed, and the idea that if you succeed and the school is succeeding right by you, so it's a win-win for both the student that's pursuing what their dreams and their goals, plus the school that is trying to make essentially a name for itself. And I think that it's the best combination, or the best time to go to a place like Fordham, because they offer you so much. So Yes, finance is a great, it's if you're interested in finance, finance is probably the number one thing that's offered at Fordham, just because so many people are interested in it. However, marketing, analytics, even engineering, financial engineering or technological engineering is something that is pushed very, very highly. So it's essentially a place for anybody who's looking for a diverse place, a place to really put their full focus and expect that the school will give them the same focus back. America is still one of those places that you can come to America, practice your religion, practice your cultural practices, and really be yourself in the best way possible without feeling as if someone will stop you from doing so. And although that can be, I guess in 2021, that's a complex statement that I just said. However, given the other places of the world that I've seen, in India right now, for example, and that's very close to me. I have a lot of family back there, being an immigrant myself. A lot of places around the world don't give you the same security and the peace that America gives today. And although the political system is convoluted, the judicial system is convoluted, the idea of the pandemic spreading in large cities at a very fast rate is convoluted. It doesn't take away from the fact that America is still the place that you can come and truly receive, probably from an education standpoint, one of the best educations in the world. I think one of the best things that Fordham prepares you for is really looking at any type of business, any type of industry, looking at the case in which, an outcome occurred, let's say in 2008, the financial crash, and seeing how that happened, really pinpointing the reason as to what decisions were made for that to occur, and then how to avoid those mistakes if they were mistakes, or continue a positive pattern if something was positive. So from day one, this is back in August, case studies have been our biggest friend, I suppose. In every type of class that we've done, whether it's accounting, finance, or marketing, there is some type of case study that's involved where we're looking at a larger corporation that made a mistake or that did positive things, and to really cipher between what is correct and what is incorrect. The idea of going to school at Fordham kind of coincides with the values that Fordham gives. Fordham is a Jesuit institution, and it really strives to kind of stand by the principles that the Jesuit values kind of teach. And that doesn't mean that Christianity is forced upon, or Catholicism is forced upon, any type of individual. The idea is that if you are a good individual, if you're a good person in society, if you can give back in a positive manner, the world will also respond, similar to how a candidate would go to school and the school responds as well. And I think that theme is something that is seen throughout. So when it comes to something like the financial crisis, or discussing how, let's say, the pandemic was not prepared for, or the financial crisis was something that was not prepared for, the school has taught us so far that the idea of doing the right thing will only give positive outcomes. Not always. You can do the best you can and still things can go wrong, but at least it prepares you for how to tackle those issues when they come. Morality and ethics are something that are very, very, very deeply valued in the school, whether, like I said, you're doing a project in finance or you're working with a marketing professor, hypothetically. The same values go for every single class. And I think the idea that choosing the right thing, even though it might lead to an incorrect consequence, but if you're doing it with the right mentality, the right mindset, you will ultimately prevail. And there's nothing that can say that, hey, I took the wrong step here and this is why this happened. If you can say, hey, I did all the right things, I took all the right steps, and there was still a negative impact, that's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to realize that there are things that you can do there's things that you can do and learn from those mistakes in the future. So I think that's what it really teaches, that it's okay to fail, but in the way that you fail, you should not cheat, you should not take the shortcut. It's really important to do the best work that you possibly can and really, really challenge yourself to do that. And so it's more difficult than it may seem, especially on some place like Wall Street. Do the right thing. What are the correct morals and ethics that you would use in business, that you would also use in your personal life? How do I ask for help when I need it? How do I give help to those that are asking for it in a positive manner, without degrading someone, without feeling degraded when you're asking for some kind of advice, I suppose. Those are the key factors that have I've at least taken out of this one semester that I've been there. And I think that the lessons that are taught are probably going to stick with me for the rest of my life.